Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. Our salute to Detroit's Black history continues today with a woman who became the first African-American female judge elected to the Wayne County Circuit Court. Lucile Alexander Watts was a common pleas court judge when she became a history maker in 1980. Although she's retired from the bench now, Judge Watts has remained active in the field of law. She operates the Mary McLeod Bethune Legal Clinic in Detroit. I'm pleased to welcome the Honorable Lucile Watts to American Black Journal. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for asking me.
Yes. So let's talk about 1980. You get elected to the Wayne County Circuit Court, and it's the first time a black woman is elected to that post. Tell me about what made you decide to run for it and how it felt to win.
Well, I had been told it couldn't be done.
Right, right, and they were right, but historically, right?
And I had some experience running for office because I ran for the job that I had. So we gave it a try and had a lot of support.
Yeah, yeah. Well, talk about some of the obstacles, though. What were some of the things you felt like stood in your way of becoming a circuit court judge at that point?
Well, getting votes outside of the city of Detroit, because Detroit was my base.
Right.
But I had to go, Wayne County encompasses a lot of suburban areas that I had no familiarity with. And so I learned to go in and talk to those people because I figured those were my votes.
They
too.
were your voters too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, were you campaigning in places like Grosse Pointe or Livonia or?
Some I stayed out of, and people went for me because I was a chair of Focus Hope at the time, and Father Cunningham and the folks who supported me were doing a lot of the work.
So they went to some places.
Yeah, some places I didn't go in at all.
Right, right. Were people surprised? I mean, even people in Detroit, when you would knock on their doors or show up at an event and say, "Hey, I'm running for Wayne County Circuit Judge," were they shocked?
Well, I remember one church that I went into. The minister said he didn't believe in women being judges, but he would introduce me and they could make up their own mind.
Right.
Which I thought was kind of interesting.
That's in a diplomatic position, right? He wasn't going to support you, but he'd let you talk to the congregation anyway.
The churches were very supportive, and of course the unions. So
they helped you out.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't have done it without the union support.
Yeah, yeah. So you get elected. You're on the bench. You're the only African American woman there. What was the reception like among the other judges?
Well, the chief judge at that time on the circuit bench did not believe in women being on the bench, actually.
Okay.
Never mind black women.
Right, right. So he had two hurdles to get over.
He made it kind of difficult, but...
he made it difficult in what way?
Well, at that time they were signing cases out of the office, and now they have blind draw.
Right, it's a blind draw, sure.
But
he was choosing the
he
judges.
along with some of the others were choosing the cases that would be assigned to me, and I was given especially difficult cases like product liability and medical malpractice, and of course I became kind of proficient in that area, which served me very well the rest of the time on the bench and even after I got off.
Right, right.
Those were the kind of lawyers that we dealt with. They were the cream of the crop.
Right, right, right. So how did you learn? I mean, you hadn't handled cases like that before. You were on the bench. How did you manage
well, I
to
did
do
some
that?
studying.
Yeah, right, right. You can always read up on it, right?
Yeah. I do a lot of reading.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously you proved yourself.
Well,
not
of course,
just to
we were able to change chiefs too.
Right, right. That helped, right? Getting a more tolerant or open-minded leader. But you proved yourself not just to the other judges, but to voters as well. Once you were there.
I don't remember having too much trouble with voters.
Right, right. They kept electing you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go back to when you were a young woman. Deciding what it was you wanted to do. I mean, this was a time when there weren't many female attorneys to begin with, and certainly not many black female attorneys. What made you feel like, hey, this is something I want to try to go do?
Well, when I was a championship debater in high school, so I thought being a lawyer would be a good idea.
Right,
But
they
I
are
hadn't
very
seen
similar.
any women lawyers, so I'm from a small town in Ohio, and we didn't have any women lawyers
Right,
of
in
any
the whole
color.
town. Right, right.
So I went into something else. I had a career in fashions, and but that didn't challenge me enough. So I decided I was going to give it a try.
Yeah.
And I stopped doing what I was doing and went to law school.
Right, right. What was the admissions process like for you at the law school? I mean,
The law school?
Yeah.
Well, there were only 2 women in the day school when I went to DCL.
Oh, okay.
One of
Detroit
them.
College of Law, right?
Detroit College of Law.
Sure.
Yeah. One of them washed out.
One didn't make it. So it was you and just another one other.
Well,
woman.
there were women in the evening school, and they became good friends, and I became a member of the group, and they were very helpful.
Right, right. And law school itself would have been.
The administration in Detroit College of Law at that time was especially warm toward me. Dean King was the dean of the school, and he and all of them were very nice to me.
And they were encouraging of
Right.
of what you were trying to do, not standing in your
Yeah,
way.
I didn't meet any opposition from the administration. The fellow students weren't all that helpful, except the women.
Right, except other women, right? Right, right. And once you graduated, how difficult was it to establish a practice here in Detroit?
Nobody would hire me.
Is that right? Is that right?
I had friends who were in law firms, and they wanted me in, but the powers that be didn't want. And
They wouldn't open
nobody
the
would
doors.
hire me. So I decided maybe I'd better practice on my own, and I went into a law office with a very well-known attorney, Graves, who had worked on in housing.
Okay.
And I had an admiration for him, and he helped me, and he represented Great Lakes Mutual Insurance Company at that time, and Great Lakes Land and Investment Company.
Okay.
And I worked with him, and when he got too sick to work, I took over that practice. So
Okay.
I had a pretty good base going.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and there, that's a good example of just one person giving you an opportunity that ends up being the thing that, that gets you through.
I volunteered to help him right from the beginning.
Right, right.
And he made it worthwhile for me.
Yeah. What are some of the things you mentioned in the open that you help with the Bethune Legal Clinic here in Detroit? What are the things you see with young lawyers now?
Yeah, well, when I retired, I just looked around for something to do because I knew I would get bored if I didn't do something.
Right, right.
So we just set up a little law practice for people who could pay something, but not the money for the downtown lawyers.
For big firms, sure, yeah.
So that's really what Bethune Legal Clinic is all about.
Yeah.
Just doing some help for the community and getting enough income to keep the building going.
Right.
That's about it.
Right. And are you staffing that with young lawyers around town?
We have some help. Of course, it's kind of worked now that you got lawyers everywhere, and some of them are doing the same thing that we're doing, so we're kind of cutting back and just holding on to a few cases.
Yeah. We've got about a minute left for the interview. Tell me what you tell young people now, young women in particular. I mean, it's changed. Law schools are full of young women who
more
who
than
wanna
half
do it.
of the
More
students
than half,
are women, and I'm just happy about that.
Yeah, but what do you tell them about what they're doing and how to sort of just keep going? I mean, you faced a lot more obstacles than they did.
Yes, that's true enough. But I think women are doing a marvelous job, and I support their efforts in any way that I can. And I don't have any real advice except to be yourself and do what you want to do and don't hold back.
Right. And don't let anybody tell you no.
Don't
right?
let anybody turn you around.
Right, right. Okay, well, great. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for asking me.